Good morning and welcome to Neighborhood Unitarian Universalist Church in Pasadena. Welcome to all members, friends, and guests. My name is Eugene Hutchins. I am a proud member of the Truth and Reconciliation Committee, and I'm happy to serve as your worship associate today. Neighborhood Church creates and grows an inclusive community of faith connected by love, spirit, and service. We acknowledge our presence on the ancestral and unceded territory of the Gabrielino Tongva peoples, the traditional caretakers of the lands and waters of this campus. Today's special service is led by Reverend Christina Hsu and the members of the Truth and Reconciliation Committee of Neighborhood Church. Music is led by Dr. Zenaida Robles with Wells Lang and guest violinist Vijay Gupta. Please take a moment to silence your devices as we begin our service. Families with young children are always welcome in the sanctuary, and there is an additional play area for the very youngest in our narthex. For adults and older youth who do not need assistance, there is a quiet table for doodling and drawing close to the organ. You are all invited after the service to join us in the house and the chapel for the unveiling of the special art that we have commissioned by Jasmine Bates, and as well as the art piece by Carla Jaime Perez to commemorate our Truth and Reconciliation, the process of remembrance and renewal, and of course, the survivors. Because Neighborhood Church is supported directly by you, our members and visitors will take a few minutes to hear from Farrell and Kevin to give you a pledge update.
Good morning.
Good morning. We're your pledge team. I'm Farrell.
I'm Kevin.
This is Kevin. And Sarah Markup was also part of our team. We are very grateful for those of you who've pledged, and we have really enjoyed this process. It's been lots of work, right?
Yes.
But it's been very rewarding. And as of Friday morning, we've received pledges from 116 pledging units, and we're about 70% of our way to our target of 525,000. But that means more than half of you have still not pledged. And we are hopeful that we can get those remaining pledges in the next several weeks as we make our final push.
If you have not pledged, if you are among those who have not pledged, and you're here today, we have pledge cards out on the table. It's a perfect opportunity to get your pledge in. So you will then avoid the next process, which is the pledge team starting to email and call you. We will be polite but persistent. But if you can pledge today, here, if you're online, you can pledge through the link on the website. We very much appreciate those who are able to increase their pledge so we can continue to offer the wonderful programs and experience we all know and love here at Neighborhood Church. So if you are among those who receive a call, please say yes. Oh, and there won't be a testimonial today. Louise Hamlin was unable to make it today.
I know I said yes. Our order of service this morning is available as a link in the Sunday email and online by scanning the QR code on the back of your hymnal with your phone camera. Again, welcome to Neighborhood Church, an inclusive faith community connected by love, spirit, and service.
Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, let me stand. I am tired, I am weak, I am worn. Through the storm, through the night, lead me on to the light. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home. When my way grows drear, precious Lord, linger near. When my life is almost gone, hear my cry, hear my call, hold my hand lest I fall. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home. When the darkness appears and the night draws near, and the day is past and gone, at the river I stand. Guide my feet, hold my hand. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home.
Good morning. Thank you, Zenaida. That's really one of my favorite hymns. That was a beautiful rendition. Our chalice lighting today is adapted from a reading by Reverend Elizabeth Nguyen. As Unitarian Universalists, our journey is to transform the big and the small, to transform ourselves and to transform the world. Universalism means no one is outside of the circle of love, and no one is disposable. We stubbornly seek out the spark of the divine in each other, no matter what. Interdependence means none of us is truly free until we are all free, and our thriving is bound up in the earth's thriving. We struggle for liberation from the violence of white supremacy, sexism, ableism, classism, and the violence of eugenics. Our covenants mean we make promises to our communities to honor love and justice above all else. We light this chalice to honor our own transformation through the work of the Truth and Reconciliation Committee and our commitment to expanding the circle of love and justice.
Beloved members and friends of Neighborhood UU Church, I'm the Reverend Dr. Sophia Betancourt, and it is my privilege to serve as president of your Unitarian Universalist Association. I wanted to send my greetings, my love, my thanks, my respect today as you sit together in the fine, fine work you have done around Milliken's legacy, what it means for the congregation, and how you work toward repair now and into the future. Beloveds, tomorrow on the 30th, we're premiering my statement on the state of the association, and in it, you will hear that your Unitarian Universalist Association is in the early stages of reparations work for the UU ecosystem and for our tradition as a whole. You will hear my gratitude in that recording for congregations that have gone before us already and led the way. I know this has been difficult work, faithful work, work that matters, work that lifts our values in the world and models, not just to ourselves, not just to our beloveds in Unitarian Universalist communities and congregations, but to our broader community, to the world, what it means to faithfully engage difficult histories, difficult legacies, to learn from them, to deepen our faith, to move responsibly into the future, and to elevate the work of transformation. I want to thank your leaders, both lay and ordained, the members of your Truth and Reconciliation Committee, and all of you for modeling this work so beautifully. Your UUA is truly following your lead as we take this work on in a larger context for our UU history as a whole. I hope today, in moments of grief and loss, but also knowledge and learning and community and possibility, that you hold real pride for faithful endeavor, real pride for living your faith, real pride for inviting others along the way. We are so grateful to you for your shared ministry, for this good work, and for the transformation that I know is ever ongoing. Congratulations. Thank you. I look forward to being in conversation into the future about how this affects all of us as we move faithfully on our journey together. Be well, beloveds, and have a well-deserved celebration.
Good morning, church. Good morning. And good morning. We're not live streaming, right? We are? Okay, so good morning, whoever's online. I'm Donna Perkins. I am the founder and chair of the Truth and Reconciliation Committee. And this morning, I have a reading. This reflection is paraphrased from the book on Repentance and Repair, Making Amends in an Unapologetic World by Rabbi Danya Ruttenberg. In it, the rabbi posits that there is a lot of confusion about the work of personal and communal repentance and repair in our extremely individualistic American society. She states that we lack a process that might hold the pain of victims and urge perpetrators to hold themselves accountable. She describes a model for such a process based primarily on the writings of the 12th century Jewish philosopher Maimonides. The rabbi states, "We all will leave mixed legacies. We all cause harm sometimes. We have all been harmed. We also are all bystanders to harm." She says, what if we saw repentance work as transformative self-care?
Please rise in body or in spirit and join us in singing our opening hymn, number 1051, We Are.
We're working now. Okay. We already made it up here. Excellent. If there's any other kids who would like to join us for a story, please come on up. Our book today is called The Artivist by Nicholas Smith. I love to paint. It relaxes me. They say I'm an artist. I love to help my community, to seed goodness in the world. They say I'm an activist. But sometimes the world that I see is not the world that I wish to see, and the problems seem larger than life. I want to scream, I want to help, I want to act. I want to hold up a mirror to the world and show everyone what isn't working right. This needs to be fixed. This needs to be fixed too. Above the surface, this seems right. But that's when I realize that fixing things requires us all to look deeper. All I can think to do is paint the problems and the solutions people can work on together. I think it's time to combine both parts of who I am, to take action with my art. It's time to become an artivist. I will sketch and draw and scribble and paint the broken bones I see and the healing I hope for. Until, hopefully, I open a few eyes to the things that aren't working right, or many, many eyes. Artivism has the power to spark the compassion and empathy of the whole world, and the artivist can light that flame. The artivist can inspire others to give back by painting what every person deserves. The artivist must be brave enough to speak up, even when it's scary. And humble enough to listen before speaking. The artivist is an ally. The artivist is a protector of the planet and the planet's children. The artivist is a memory keeper, painting justice for all, especially all those who no longer have a voice. The artivist doesn't only paint. She sings, he writes, they film. We repurpose, we build. We bring awareness to what can be changed for the better so that everyone can take action. The artivist is a visionary who pieces the world back together. The artivist is you. What change will you create? That's our story for today. Please join me in singing the kids out to their classes.
Hello. Which I can either see you or I can see my papers. I can't do both. I'm Cindy Stone, and I'm on the Truth and Reconciliation Committee, and I'm here today to talk about the Share the Plate. And our Share the Plate group is the California Coalition for Women Prisoners. Now, you know that you've heard this before. Each Sunday, our congregation dedicates 100% of its contributions to a nonprofit that shares our values. You can donate in two ways. You can use your cell phone to donate by texting the number on the screen. The box. Coalition was one of the preparations. So I am going to, oh, there she is. I am going to invite Lisa Nomura up here to talk a little bit about that organization. She is a formerly incarcerated Samoan woman and a fierce organizer, fighting on behalf of those incarcerated in women's prison. She is the full-time membership organizer for the California Coalition for Women Prisoners. Lisa's life work is encapsulated in the empowerment of the formerly incarcerated and the liberation of people from prisons where institutional harm and medical neglect is a cultural mainstay. So here's Lisa.
Hi, everyone. Again, my name is Lisa Nomura. My pronouns are she, hers. And I just want to tell you how grateful I am that I'm able to be in this space today, how much it's so needed. Sometimes you don't know what you need until you're right smack in the middle of getting it. And so when I think of heaven, I look around and I see what I see in this room today. And I'm so grateful to be able to be in a space that's not only inclusive, but rooted in love. I'm a formerly incarcerated woman who spent 10 years in California state prisons and jails. It was my first offense. I went to prison at the age of 36. I have 6 children at the time. I still have them now, thankfully. And I also have 6 grandchildren. Right prior to the pandemic in January of 2020, I was released. And when I was released, I didn't realize how much was stored up inside me when I left. When you walk onto a California prison, women's prison, you feel trauma, pain, isolation built into the walls. Every night when I would lay down and go to sleep, I would do one thing. I'm a big girl, so sleeping across a 21-inch across cookie sheet didn't leave you much room to wiggle around. That's why I have a king-size bed today. But tell me why some of this trauma still rests in my bones, because whether I start in the middle of my bed, I always end up on one side, very small portion of one side of my bed. Because that trauma not only sits in those walls, but it gets inside you. When I paroled from the California prison system, I came home and I recognized just how complicit I was to my own trauma. How the system that was there to encage me was the system that was teaching me how to be quiet, how to just take what was coming to me and just do my time. And I just want to say also that it lit a fire inside me when I looked back at the time that I had spent, for the many times I was disrespectfully asked to disrobe for no reason, no issue of security. I was doing my job, so I was being where I was supposed to be. So why would I have to continuously over and over again while I'm fighting fires to protect communities, have to consistently disrobe from head to toe? These are some of the things, in addition to harm that was imposed upon me by a medical practitioner, gynecologist, in which case California Coalition is now representing all of us in a lawsuit against not only the person who committed the harm, but also to against the CDCR at this time. We were founded in 1995 after women prisoners filed a lawsuit against the medical neglect that was causing so many of the women inside the prison at the time to die, waiting for very, very important treatments like chemotherapy, like blood transfusions, like infusions of simple things, iron infusions, waiting while they became sicker and sicker. Sharice Shoemate filed a class action lawsuit. Pete Wilson, Sharice Shoemate versus Pete Wilson. And that lawsuit was groundbreaking because it broke open the silence that was happening inside these prisons, women's prisons specifically. You can see a 37-minute film on our website called Sharice Shoemate, Fighting for Our Lives. And she definitely was fighting for her life, for she had sickle cell anemia. Before they would cast a final judgment on that case, she would lose her life and not be able to see the fruition of all of her hard work, not just in that case, but 30 years later, as I stand here and continue to fight the fight until change comes. We have been supporting people on reproductive injustices with the exposure of violence and harm of forced sterilizations that we're talking about today that came to light in 2013. CCWP has been active in getting justice for survivors in the form of compensation and memorialization. That's a hard word. In 2021, California provided reparations to survivors of state-sanctioned forced and involuntary sterilization through this compensation program. We formed a work group in order to help people because, of course, the Victim Compensation Board wasn't going to put any other extra effort, so that's where we came in. We were that extra effort to reach out to make sure that as many people who were affected by involuntary and forced sterilization were able to get the reparations that they so desperately deserved. We have been continuing this work now since the reparations time has lapsed. We recognize that we need to continue the work of reproductive justice. And we've been doing that by working on other projects. A couple of these projects is we created a 30-page Know Your Rights booklet. It's glossy, it has pictures, art from people on the inside. It was done in collaboration by very, very smart volunteers who worked together with people on the inside to put this Know Your Rights pamphlet together. We just ask that if you go onto our website, we have on our reproductive justice page, you'll see that the cost to print this is not cheap. But we want to get this booklet into as many hands inside prisons today. Another project that we're doing is something really cool, which is for the pregnant population that are housed in the California Institution for Women. We want to take in doulas. We want to begin a doula program that will go in and support the population, but full spectrum doulas that will respect the choices of people to have a baby, to not have a baby, and also in every stage of transformation in one's life. In February 2025, CCWP helped launch this lawsuit against this OBGYN that I spoke of earlier. This lawsuit is one of several civil cases filed against the CDCR, the California Department of Corrections, and Rehabilitation over the last several years. These types of harms and violence and abuse is currently what we're talking about and what is being supported in the efforts of these ongoing lawsuits. To become involved with CCWP, you can email us at info@womenprisoners.org. We have open meetings the first Wednesday of each month at 6:30. You're all welcome. And they're topic-based, and man, they're pretty exciting sometimes. The complexities of reproductive justice work in California women's prisons are, imagine having laws that you know are legal, are laws that state that you have the right to have access to reproductive care or access to abortion services. Yet inside the walls of these prisons, that access is not real. and that health care that you should be getting is delayed and obstructed. And that pregnancy in that very vulnerable state that you're in is very, very vulnerable for you. We are so grateful to be able to do this work for the last 30 years, but we sure would like to work ourselves out of a job. We would like to continue to envision a world where women's prisons are obsolete. CCWP is starting with our most vulnerable population, our elders. I have done time with mothers and grannies inside there who created the healing dialogue where I was able to get as much healing as I could while I was there. It wasn't by the prison that brought healing, because prison system is incapable of providing the type of healing that anyone needs from the trauma that we all end up going in with and the double trauma that we end up paroling with. But it was within this sisterhood, in this community, in this form of collective care that I stepped out of that prison, leaving behind so many people that are languishing away in prison unjustly, all in the interest of justice. So we're continuing to work on this elder parole. We want to start with them. We want to bring them home. And I'm just so grateful to be able to be here to share some of our work. Today, I brought 2 very, very special survivor quilts. And those quilt squares were done by people, not just volunteers on the outside, but majority of those squares were done by people impacted by forced sterilization. And so the theme of both of our quilts is called Together We Heal. And we invite all of you all to not only come and see that, but to also join in this mantra that not only do we heal those who have experienced this, but we all heal together. Just like our sister Donna said, everybody has hurt somebody, and everybody has been hurt. So why don't we just heal together? Thank you so much.
Please give generously. Thank you for your support.
Good morning. My name is May Colcord, and as a member of the Truth and Reconciliation Committee, a former board member, and a lifelong neighborhood church member, I am truly honored to be part of today's service. This committee and its work has given me, and I believe gives all of us, an opportunity to reconsider the values that shaped and in many ways justified the colonial mindset of religious liberals. During this presentation and the rest of today's service, I encourage you to reflect on the ways in which our UU values, especially those of pluralism, justice, and love, may be used to repair and restore such harm. In 2017, this community began to explore and confront the mixed legacy of Dr. Robert A. Millikan, a prominent 15-year board member of Neighborhood Church and the first American to win the Nobel Prize for Physics in 1923. Dr. Millikan was also on the board of the Human Betterment Foundation, a eugenics organization that not only promoted the unsolicited sterilization of people of color, the mentally challenged, and other marginalized people, but also provided a conscious model for the atrocities committed by the Nazis during the 1930s and World War II. From 1909 through 1979, under state eugenics laws, more than 20,000 people who lived in California state-run institutions or who sought help at LA County hospitals were sterilized. Even though those laws were repealed in 1979, it was later found that uninformed sterilizations continued to be performed on people in custody at state prisons into the mid-2000s. After prolonged advocacy by a coalition of groups, of which Neighborhood Church was a part, in 2022, California created a compensation fund for state-sponsored survivors of sterilization. As of the start of the program, it was estimated that at least 600 survivors of forced sterilization in California were still alive and eligible for monetary compensation, but less than 150 survivors have been approved due to the narrow outreach and definitions used by the state. Through education, outreach, and faith-rooted action, Neighborhood Church members have been and continue to work to dismantle elitism and white supremacy and promote reparations for those directly and indirectly harmed by forced sterilization. We would now like to take time to honor and name just some of the victims of forced sterilization in California and across the country of whom we are aware. Kelly Dillon, Charlie Follett, Moonlight Pulido, Fannie Lou Hamer, Carrie Buck, Dolores Madrigal, Mary Franco, Norma Jean Serena, Mary Alice, and Minnie Ralph. Good morning. My name is May Colcord, and as a member of the Truth and
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? Yes. Great. My name is Jasmine Bates, she, her pronouns. I thought I would start, I'm the artist who worked on the installation that, thank you. That's very nice. Okay, so I thought since I'm a guest here, I would sort of just situate myself for you a little bit. So I grew up UU, so this has been like an interesting little return for me, and I've loved working with the committee and also with the congregation and folks who came out to create this work together. My father is like a post-Christian, white Canadian. My mom is a Zoroastrian woman from India, very small sort of religious minority group there. So the UUs were like the perfect place and also kind of the only place to drop me and my brother. And so, yeah, let's see. Oh yeah, on the Zoroastrian thing, I think that's another sort of formative element to how I sort of thought about this work in my first sort of entry into understanding eugenics as a mixed race person. So Zoroastrianism is an old and beautiful religion, of course, but as it manifests in our current day, particularly in India, it has a lot of threads of sort of religious supremacy and ethno-supremacy, a history of sort of ritual purity turned into a contemporary rhetoric of racial purity. So as I went to India, actually, I went to India for the first time in 2017, so it sort of coincided with the beginning of the committee, and I had this experience of being barred from entering the fire temples because my blood is impure, right? So for me as an artist, this has really motivated both an interest in my blood because it's this, sort of like triple threat thing. So I use that a lot in my work. And as I was coming into this project and learning about the intention to create an installation in this room, I had just made an installation at the American Museum of Ceramic Art called Fire in the Blood, Sugar in the Milk. And it was sort of a maladjusted fire temple that was responding to my experience of racialized exclusion. Of course, I'm the right color for maybe the white supremacist Parsis, but just the whole histories of racism and racialization led to my own exclusion. So that was one little touch point. As you can imagine, I could probably talk about that for like an hour, but I'll flip my page. So I'm just going to tell you about a few people who really informed the work. So Dr. Jess Watcott had a book come out in 2024 called Menace to the Future, A Disability and Queer History of Carceral Eugenics. And the framing of this book really helped me think about this project as an expansive anti-eugenic project and something that is really coalitional. So they have this idea of carceral eugenics, of even beyond the medical neglect and forced sterilizations and other horrible dehumanizing practices that happen in carceral spaces. Just detention itself is a form of reproductive control and of eugenics. So that was something that I thought about a lot in this work and something that I wanted to sort of reflect. And so in titling the piece Free Them All, I'm trying to connect this, hashtag or this demand from activists for abolition, for emptying the prisons, for ending mass incarceration, for ending immigrant detention, for refusing policies that would return us to mass institutionalization. This was sort of the larger frame I wanted for the piece. Another scholar who and one who I got a chance to speak with briefly is Dr. Alex Stern. So she's a scholar of the history of eugenics and wrote a book on it and is the founder of the Sterilization and Social Justice Lab. But something she said to me that might be useful for you, depending on what you're doing and what you're up to. But I was talking to her about how, as an artist, I have this impulse to really familiarize myself with sort of horrible archives and evidences of what has happened in order to sort of formulate my response. So in past projects, that has been a place that I've sort of maybe stayed in for a little bit too long. And she just advised me to, as much as I was able, drop that. And as art is a portal to another world or something better, the practice of making it can be one of future thinking while remaining responsive to the past, right? So she saved me probably from many weeks in a basement. So maybe she can save you too. Okay, so not that we shouldn't be educated, right, but just that we should mind what we're taking in and what we're privileging. And the last person I want to speak about is Dawn Wooten. She was a nurse. She is a nurse, and in 2020, she was working at an ICE facility in Georgia, and she went public about the medical neglect and the forced sterilizations that were happening to people being held in immigrant detention. So I wanted to learn from her. So she was sort of like my consultant for the project, and we talked about her experience of witnessing and of truth-telling and the ways that that has really changed her life for good and for bad. And something that stuck with me is just how that process of coming out and speaking truth started this process of learning and unlearning for her, learning about the histories and the systems of eugenics and of reproductive control that are the history of this country and so many countries, and particularly for her as a Black woman in relation to enslavement and reproductive control. So I have transcribed some of our conversation, and I don't think it's there yet, but it will eventually be in the library for you to look at sort of in relation to this piece. And also she made, just as many of you did, many of the components that are in the room. So it's sort of a tether to her and to so many other folks who are not sort of physically there, but are in mind there. So I'll end by speaking just a little bit about some of the formal, maybe like rhetorical elements of the installation that you'll go see later, also alongside the quilts, which is so beautiful to have those even for a brief period in conversation. I think that's just incredible. So when I was a graduate student at the University of Colorado Boulder, I learned about 6 students who were all involved in the Chicano student movement who were killed by 2 car bombs in 1974. And I came to school also in 2017 and learned about this history that had been really repressed and silenced for almost 50 years at that point. Now we're past 50 years, and I spent most of my time in Boulder working on a memorial to those 6 students with their friends, with their families, something physical and tangible that would stay on campus and remember them so they couldn't be at large, unremembered by the space again. And so my strategy for that, and it was a group project, just like this one was. So our strategy for that was to look at sort of the visual culture and the formal elements of the campus, and to some extent adopt them, but then also completely disrupt them through the fitting in. So that's something that I tried to do a little bit here in the room in Boulder. You know, I downloaded like the style guide and made sure we used all the same fonts that the university would use on sort of their official dispatches, and made sure we mirrored the flat irons and the angles of the building around it. So likewise in here, I've tried to take the interior structure of the room and sort of pattern it back, but with hopefully a lot of disidentification, so both recognizing what's there and seeking to disrupt it or move away from it. But there is a politeness to it that I've been doing some self-examining this morning around the extent to which there is that fit when I think about sort of disruption. What else? Because as I was thinking about this piece, was it 24 or 25? It was around there that you all put out this call. Yeah, another thing that really inspired me was the student occupations of university buildings and how the banner drops and the physical presence and the sort of shifting of spaces was something that was both a real threat, a perceived threat by the universities, and the students, of course, were, as they always have for as long as students have been in universities, using that as a tactic to force the university into change and into liberation and into divestment to the extent that any institution of that kind can. But in addition to it being sort of within that universe of tactics, it also did a really amazing visual shifting of the space. And so anytime I see a building that was once occupied, my sort of experience of it forever is changed. And so it's sort of a gift to be invited in to occupy a room long term. So thank you for letting me bring together all of these threads. And thanks to everyone who made a piece or thought about coming to make a piece of what's in there. I hope that it sort of connects you to this project, changes the way you see the room and think about it, and yourself and ourselves as actors in this world. So thank you.
to Donna Perkins and the Truth and Reconciliation Committee. So many years ago, in conversation with the Truth and Reconciliation Committee, I preached a sermon where I outlined the following steps for our congregation in embarking on this work. They were humility, truth-telling, accountability, relationship, and transformation. And today we are seeing the culmination of all of those steps and reflecting and celebrating upon that last step, transformation. So I have a transformation question for all of us. How do you transform poison into a cure? How does a congregation transform the name and legacy of a famous eugenicist and prominent church future? For indeed, eugenics is a poisonous and hateful ideology, one which continues to reappear and dominates even our current time, often cloaked in the disguise of rationality, science, and civilization. What is the antidote for such a poison? How does a congregation, let alone a nation, set about finding healing after such a poison? We are living in a time with many poisonous ideologies and atrocities, and a time when our own memory and the historical record of these things is under attack. As UU scholar Frederick Muir would say, this is a time of disremembering, when authoritarian forces seek to repress and revise the historical past in order to present a sanitized view of history that legitimizes power, that erases harm, and portrays founders and leaders in a sanctified light. So it is countercultural and revolutionary to remember and repair together. I imagine that many of us were thrown into shock, disbelief, and outrage when 2 weeks ago reports that civil and labor rights legend Cesar Chavez has been credibly accused of sexual abuse with young women and children, and the following disclosure from Dolores Huerta that she was also a survivor of his abuse. So this coming Tuesday, now called Farm Workers' Day, most celebrations and marches have been canceled, and many organizations thrown into a swirl of painful soul-searching. As I was reading these reports about Chavez at the same time as working on this sermon, I thought of just how familiar these feelings are, and how relevant and important is this process of truth and reconciliation. I thought, how long must we continue to do this, to uncover the grievous harms and trauma inflicted by otherwise celebrated men? I was flooded with all too familiar feelings of cynicism, shame, sadness, grief, and anger. Feelings of pain and empathy for the survivors and a desire for their stories to be uncovered and heard, and anger at the systems and upholders of patriarchy, sexism, and racism, which lead such crimes to be hidden or actively suppressed in order to continue to protect a person's legacy. Similar feelings to what our congregation felt when we discovered Robert Milliken's true legacy. A coworker said to me the day the news about Chavez was published, I guess we'll have a lot of new street names. And of course, it's not just new street names. Some of the news articles initially said that organizations were looking into a, quote, rebrand. I believe that rebrand, which literally means the changing of a name of a corporation or a business in order to continue to sell and make money, is a far description from what is actually needed. When the names and the statues of Confederate generals were removed, it was not a rebrand of American history. And when Columbus Day was renamed Indigenous Peoples Day, it was not a rebrand. When we took down Milliken's name and renamed the room and neighborhood house, we did not do it to rebrand ourselves or seek to repair our own image or reputation for profit. Similarly, the people and organizations and movements now working to understand Chavez's legacy and the hurts he committed are not seeking to rebrand the labor movement. But what other words do we have in our culture and society infused with consumerism? What other words do we have for this process? After all, a rebrand is something that can be redone, as we've seen with many organizations and companies. Instead, I propose that we need more words that describe this as a spiritual and moral process. Words that we've used today: courage and gratitude for survivors for coming forth, accountability, centering and uplifting marginalized voices, healing, remaining committed to our deepest values of inclusion, while also interrogating the combination of sexism, power, and supremacist structures that perpetrate abuse in the past and present. The words we at Neighborhood Church have used for our own process: truth and reconciliation, and remembrance and renewal, the new name of the room in Neighborhood House. On Repentance and Repair, the book that Donna quoted from earlier, Rabbi Danya Ruttenberg writes, "If you believe that you can damage, believe that you can fix. If you believe that you can harm, believe that you can heal." How do you transform poison into a cure? It would be a mistake to stay stuck in the cynicism and burnout of the news cycle and revelation after revelation of abuses of powerful men, to throw up our hands and say, "I just can't take another one," or to say, "It will and always will be like this." Similarly, it would be a mistake to change a name on a sign and to change nothing else. In contrast, our values as Unitarian Universalists call us to transformation and to justice through love. We are called to hope that change is possible and that each human person holds the capacity both to do harm and also to heal, to find accountability and to speak the truth, to seek right relationship and to continue to live and grow as a beloved community. So I'd like each one of you to take a moment to pause and to consider, how have you been transformed by the work of our Truth and Reconciliation Committee? How has this congregation been transformed? What have you learned? What actions have you taken because of it? And what will you share with others after today's service? We found an antidote for the poison of Milliken and his legacy in our beloved community. And today we are poised in this amazing moment, this present moment, to celebrate our work of reconciliation, while also looking towards a future knowing that our work is not yet done. And we are celebrating and commemorating this occasion with art. So let me ask a different question. How do you transform unformed clay into a sculpture? Deity breathed into clay to create life. Clay is a natural material from the earth, adapted for human use. It is messy and perfect and beautiful at the same time. As a community, we took raw clay and shaped it in our hands and gave it to Jasmine to be fired in an oven, literally reshaping the very molecules of clay from damp and sticky, moldable earth to something tested by fire and formed into something greater than its individual parts, something harder and stronger and more durable than it was before. The amazing thing about art is it is both an outcome, like a sculpture, an object of beauty, and a process. Art, in its relationship to movement and protest work, is both the very thing we're fighting for. Art as what gives life meaning, beauty, and joy. And art is integral to the processes of our working together and pushing for liberation. Like the story, art and activism go together. Art has long been a force for resisting authoritarianism and fascism, and the creative arts and artists are often one of the first areas that fascists attempt to control or dismantle. Art is critical for the emotional processing of trauma, and in healing trauma, art can often express what cannot be named. Art has been used to deconstruct and reconstruct official colonial narratives, and it brings community together to lift up silenced voices from the past and to share new visions for the future. For those of us who attended the march yesterday or other protest events, how did you see art being used? In singing and music, in the posters, the protest signs, in play and parody and satire, in puppets and costumes, in creativity and beauty. We have used art as a transformative process to come together and commemorate our truth and reconciliation process. And we will continue to use art to gather, to resist, and to build resilience. There is no shortage of historic hurts and failures committed by those who believed in and still believe in eugenics and other belief systems of domination and oppression. So in many ways, we must continue to be ever watchful in calling these out, in seeking the truth, and we must continue to let go of our own egos and seek accountability. For some of these hurts might be plain to us and others still hidden. But today we can be emboldened and inspired by the work of our Truth and Reconciliation Committee, knowing that yes, the work is hard, and yes, the outcome is sweet. It is the building of this beloved community, a community where no one is left behind. Amen, and may it be so.
Please rise in body or in spirit and join us in singing our closing hymn 1054 in your teal hymnal, Let This Be a House of Peace.
Let this be a house of peace, of nature and humanity, of sorrow and elation. Let this be our house, a haven for the healing, an open room for question and our inspiration. Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of freedom, guardian of dignity and worth held deep inside us. Let this be our house, a platform for the free voice, where all our sacred differences here shall not divide us. Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of peace. Let this be in this house, seek truth, where scientists and mystics abide in reverence here. Let this be our house, a house of our creation, where works of art and melodies consecrate the atmosphere. Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of prophecy. May vision for our children be our common theme. Let this be our house, a myth and love and Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of peace.
As we go forth from this service, we commit to continue to be engaged in justice, in remembering history, to be watchful of the poison of eugenics, and to call it out when we see it. We are grounded in the knowledge that our congregation has been transformed, that we are stronger than before. We hope to lovingly support others who are seeking to engage in their own truth and reconciliation process. And we celebrate lifting up art and hope, lifting up community and love. May it be so.
Hi there. Before we advance to progress, the committee wanted to make a few acknowledgements, and we wanted to first, of course, thank, neighborhood church, community, and staff for all their wonderful support, for helping support the committee of the Truth and Reconciliation Committee Chair Donna Perkins, committee members Cindy Stone, Elizabeth Erickson, May Concord, and myself, Eugene Hutchins. But we also want to thank, as you said, it takes a village, the community to put this all together. And we want to thank Mike Branham, who helped so much with public relations and press support for this. Alan Hassel, who created the staff, the signage for the library and other aspects really supporting this. We also want to thank Lynn Miyamoto and Elizabeth Sadler for the support with the reception as well. And of course, our partners, the California Coalition of Women Prisoners, for being here today and also sharing those beautiful quilts. We also want to thank, of course, the Board of Trustees of Neighborhood Church, campaigning our president, as well as other folks like Luis Campos, who was very pivotal at the beginning of this process. So thank you so much. And I'll leave to Elizabeth Erickson for how we're going to.
I promise to be the last person. Thank you. So many people made today possible. And I am Elizabeth Erickson. I'm a member of the Truth and Reconciliation Committee, a victim and a victimizer, and that gives me insider information. I'm going to tell you what we're doing next, but first I want to remind you that this month, former President Bill Clinton said, "I saw nothing." Now, I believe him, and I'll tell you why I believe him. In my family, there was much love and care, and there was also dehumanizing violence that happened between the members, and some of my family members still do not see it. So our congregation right here addresses hard truths, things that are impossible to see in community. Today, victims of involuntary sterilization propel us in the same way when they say, eugenics is not a thing of the past. This is insider information. It's still happening. We're still not seeing it. So we invite you today to walk out with us, shoulder to shoulder, behind the Justice Choir, and we're going to go to the back porch of Neighborhood House, kind of where family gathers, and the Justice Choir is going to lead us. Reverend Omega is going to lift up our labors. Then we're going to go into the dining room. You can see the clay. You can see everything that happened. And in the library will be Donna Perkins, who for her whole life, but certainly the last decade, has kept this vision about the unveiling we're doing today. And at the same time, right next door in Ross Chapel, you'll see these quilts. You maybe can touch these quilts. Hands wove these quilts. So you can ask questions of anybody in purple. If you're on the Truth and Reconciliation Committee, raise your hand. We all know a little bit, and you may know more you want to tell us. Thank you for the food. I'm ready for the food in the bathroom. And I'm going to leave you with these words from James Baldwin, and they're the favorite, actually, of Stanley. He's more than a custodian. He takes care of our house. A wise person of color and gay rights activist reported in the New York Times back in 1962, James Baldwin said, "Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced." So we ask you to rise and come witness with us.